Hi, thanks for tuning in to Turn to the Stars. My name is Andrea Klim, and I want to say thank you for tuning in today. We are going to be talking about the lunar eclipse that is approaching at the end of November. As you can see on the screen, we do have a lunar eclipse that we are going to be experiencing at the end of November, November 28th to be exact. However, before I get there, I do want to talk with you about a couple other things as we lead up to the lunar eclipse. And one of those things is the election of 2012, which is tomorrow. And that is going to be November 6th. And I've got some pretty interesting information on that. That I'd like to share with you about the astrology of 2012 on election day. And I also want to talk with you first about what's coming up this Saturday at Turn to the Stars. We have a very exciting event, which is our psychic fair, our bi-monthly psychic fair, which is going to be this Saturday, November 10th, at the Yard Seafood and Steakhouse. And that is going to be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and you can see on the screen here the picture that is giving you all the details, but this is also what you see on the screen is one of our participants, Lori Otto, and I am using her picture as a way to show you to share with you some information about some of our readers. She is one of our readers. And as you can see on that picture that is with Lori, she is a spiritual intuitive. She's doing spiritual intuitive readings, and what she is able to help you do is to discover and overcome the limiting beliefs that prevent you from achieving your goals. And one of her things that she does is help empower you through her reading to become happy, healthy, and strong. So I had missed putting Lori on our video that you saw in last week's show, and I felt so bad about that, so I wanted to make sure that I told you about Lori, because she is a really great reader. She does provide a great service to those that she does readings for. So she's one of 13 different readings that you'll be able to have, along with 2 different type of healing therapies that are being offered. And we have 4 different vendors with some really great things. So we will really love to see you if you have that time available. We'd love to see you. So anyway, coming back now to talking about the events that are on our path. Last week I talked about the solar eclipse, which is coming on November 13th. This is a total solar eclipse taking us in a new direction. And this is one of the things that you're going to find about this time as November 13 approaches, that this shift, this new direction is going to help you to identify areas of change in your life, and it will be about acceptance of new ways and letting go of the past, finding ways to overcome the past. So it can be a lot more detailed than that if you have an individual reading. You'll get a lot more detail on that, but as an overview today, that's pretty much on Turn to the Stars, what I'm able to do. What I like to do is to be able to provide you with tools of managing these times of change. So I do want to talk to you, though, first about tomorrow, which is the election of 2012. And I do have a chart. This is the chart of the United States. It's the United States birth chart on the inner ring, and on the outer ring is the where the planets are at this time and what that looks like. And it's quite interesting because we have Mercury actually turning retrograde tomorrow at 4:06 p.m. And you can see on that chart, Mercury retrograde is a period of time which is going to start tomorrow at 4:06 p.m., through which we are actually going backward over things that we've been talking about, things that we've been thinking about, contracts, agreements, making decisions. And here we have this planet that rules over these very important things that we are making decisions on. For our future, this planet going backwards. It's sort of like we've been on this journey and we're on a train and we come to a place where we slow down and we begin to go backwards. Not a good time for holding a presidential election. It is going to cause a lot of confusion. I would be so courageous to say that it is a possibility that we do not have a conclusion, that we have to look back and retrace some things that occur in the course of the election tomorrow. The Mercury in retrograde does begin at 4 degrees, while Mercury, the planet of logic and reason, is at 4 degrees of Sagittarius. And between November 6th, which is tomorrow, which is one of the most chaotic times during this energetic influence over making decisions, where we're having an election, until the end of November, November 26th, we are going to see this planet retrograde. So, and in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a sign of truth, of discovery. And it is going to go back, take us back and help us to think and make decisions during this time. The information that comes out of this period of time is going to provide us with a means to a better end. However, it is sort of like, gee whiz, did we really think that through? Gee whiz, did we really make a decision that is in the best interest? And many people are going to find that they're rethinking this. So how does it affect the election? It does affect the election in a way that is going to cause a lot of confusion and possibly some delays. So I'm not really big on political things. However, I did take a quick look at Barack Obama's, our president's birth chart, and I did take a look at Mitt Romney's birth chart, and these two fellows have quite a lot of challenges in their path. As you know, as you see, I have never seen a presidential election with so much aggressive. It's just been quite a path of lots of different things to overcome, and a lot of that is due to the time that we're living in. So with that Mercury retrograde, it's going to be quite an interesting day, and I would suspect that you're going to see that the conclusion is going to be questioned. So shifting away from that and moving on to the next thing that is actually on our path as the calendar goes is November 13th. November 13th is the total solar eclipse that I was talking about earlier, and I actually talked about this on last week's show and what that was going to look like, and I just talked for a brief moment about the big changes that are in our path, and I have this vision this week that I want to share with you. Eclipses are a time that we go through a period of darkness in order to get to come out the other end where the light goes on and we go, wow, I see what this is about. However, it does often cause a crisis of the shadow. You know, but what it does do for us is help us to identify what that shadow is so that we can figure out what all the little sparkles are within that shadow and how we can light it up and move forward and change things. Because of the degrees of that solar eclipse, it does the degrees. It's in I'm sorry, not the degrees. The influence of the Scorpio energy, which is what that constellation is that the solar eclipse is going to take place in. Scorpio, 22 degrees Scorpio, does tell us that we are going to be having a period of magical change. And we'll have to look at identifying the little things that make a difference toward transforming our future. It is going to take us in a very new direction, very sensitive, very, very transformative. So if you take a look at last week's show, you'll get even more detail on that. Now, a solar eclipse is like a super new moon, marking a theme or a framework of a new beginning that is starting in our life. And a solar eclipse does talk to us about the presence of a new identity. There is going to be a sense of a new identity, a new lighted path forward. So as we grow from the framework of what that solar eclipse present for us in our lives between then and November 28th, which is the lunar eclipse, you're going to see a growing presence of emotionally and on many levels of what the future, the next 6 months of your life is going to be about. And so I want to play for you, before I start talking in depth about that lunar eclipse, I want to play a little video that I created yesterday, which gives you some details about what this is going to look like, this lunar eclipse, because you can see it behind me, but this video is going to break it down and explain it a little bit better. So I'm going to play that and be right back. So that is it is going to be a penumbral lunar eclipse, meaning that we're only going to have a partial shadowing of the appearance or the light that is sent to the moon via the sun, which is exactly opposite. And this lunar eclipse will be able to be seen over Alaska, Hawaii, New Zealand, Australia, most of Asia. No one on the eastern side, that's us here in Manchester, New Hampshire, will see it. The western part of the United States and Canada will be able to catch some of it. Now, here's some details about this lunar eclipse overall. It is going to be occurring in the constellation of Gemini at 6 degrees of Gemini and 49 minutes, and that is going to be occurring at exactly 10:28 a.m. here in Manchester, New Hampshire. So the night before, you'll be seeing a very full moon up in the sky. The sky will, be lit up with that full moon. And what it's going to be doing, a lunar eclipse that occurs in the constellation of Gemini influences our ability to think. It influences our communication. It is going to take us back into discussions, communications, patterns of thinking or talking to people that we're in relationship with in our lives. There's going to be some things from the past that we we'll find that we'll be addressing or looking for ways to manage and in a positive way. In relationships, you may find that people are more apt to jump ahead before thinking things through. That is so Gemini. Gemini's more of an impulsive type of nature. Emotionally will feel the effects of this. People will seem to be sort of scattered or like go here, go there, not really thinking things through. It will take some time for people to find some type of center with this energy. So the energy of this full moon or this lunar eclipse is meant to free the mind, forcing the strong feelings to come to the surface. We'll find that we'll be defining our personalities and our relationships over the next 6 months. Now, here's some interesting facts. I thought I'd look at some of the Sabian symbol, which is a symbol that Mark Edmund Jones is one of my favorite authors in regards to the Sabian symbols. What he did was, years and years ago, provided psychic insight into each one of the degrees of the zodiac signs as they moved, in each constellation. And so they're meant to provide more insight into that particular degree of energy. And so we're at that 6 degrees and 49 minutes in the constellation of Gemini. This degree of this eclipse tells us that in the shadows of our secrets lies the answers that we need to help us through the good and bad times that we're about to experience. Interesting, a lunar eclipse is about the public. The public eye or the emotion of the public. So there's going to be some things from the past which we're going to be really, really looking at, talking about, just really wanting to find some sort of center with. Now, in the shadows of a lunar eclipse lie our fears, so to speak. Our hurts, our doubts that keep us from stepping into the unknown. This eclipse is going to last almost 5 hours, and it's interesting because in preparation for this show, I had a vision of this lunar eclipse. I was into the lunar eclipse chart. That would be I'm gonna show you what this actually looks like. This lunar eclipse is down right about 3, 4, 5 o'clock. At the bottom of the screen, you can see the symbol for the moon, which looks like a crescent, and you can see the number 6 degrees right next to it. And what that is showing is showing that it's the roots of everybody who's alive on this earth, because this is a universal chart. I was thinking we needed to look at this in a bigger way rather than just through the eyes of the United States. And so you can see next to that crescent moon, which is the lunar eclipse, just to the left of it, down a little ways, is a horseshoe. And that is a symbol that tells us that we are going to be having things from the past come up. And that's what I was talking about before. And it is going to be extremely beneficial, whatever it is that comes up. It is going to require that we do make some adjustments in our lives. This new information that comes from the emotional influence of this full moon lunar eclipse is going to take us on a path and show us through the people that we meet. It'll be sort of like mirrors of the past. And there will be this incredible transition which will require us to really trust in the power and the projection of change that we are all going to be holding in our hands. It is in our best interest to accept and embrace these changes that are coming our way. Interesting, to the top left of this chart is the activities of the government, the huge structural changes that we're going through. That is a big part of this lunar eclipse chart as well. And as I started to say before, when just before we put the chart on the screen, I had this vision of everyone during this eclipse sort of stepping into a room that has no lights on, and we're all wearing dark clothing. And then suddenly we have our eyes all open up, and the room begins to light up, and we all become sort of lit up with all these little things, which are really the gifts that we each carry, which are our spirit, our soul, our mind, and our body. The realization and the information, the knowledge, and all the abilities that we have right within us is what's going to light this up for us. And so as all of these lights from each one of us lit up, this room began to be full of light, full of realization, full of information, full of just this wonderful feeling that we here, each of us, spirits, souls, minds, and bodies, would each be enlightened by these next 6 months, and that the things from the past would really serve us in the future. The knowledge, the things that we've talked about, the things we've discussed would be really gifts to us to move forward. So I do want to talk a little bit more about the Sabian symbols that are connected with the energy of Gemini. And imagine in your mind's eye that you're looking at an old-fashioned well. So there's this picture of this stone well, and you know, it has a top on it, and it has a crank through which the bucket can be lowered down into the well. And this is a symbol that the curious capacity of man to remain himself whenever he enters into relationships with others. So this degree of Gemini is telling us to, you know, Gemini is naturally a curious energy. So we as human beings are very curious. And so whenever you enter into a relationship, it is going to be very interesting. And so this lunar eclipse will encourage the assimilation of others' reality into our own reality. That is what we will be encouraged to find. We'll be encouraged to find our center. That's what this lunar eclipse is going to influence us to do, to find our center with the reality of those around us versus what we know to be true only for ourselves. So Gemini is a dual type of energy. It considers both sides. And that's why often you find Geminis to be confused, because they can see both sides of everything, which is really good as this time of change comes our way. So the picture that I was talking about before, or the symbol of a well that is drawing in and reaches out for more substance over and over and over, you're going to find that duality, that constant go out, come back, go out, come back, pulling in substance emotionally will be fed in this way. And the things from the past will serve us to move forward. But I would highly recommend that you do take a look at and do honor the things from the past that come up. Do not run from them, but find ways to find your center with those things from the past. Communicate, talk, use your power of you know, communication, your ability. Communication will be the key, definitely with that Gemini lunar eclipse. So the key word for this time is to recompense, which means to pay or give compensation for. So the positive of this degree of energy is absolute self-reliance and faith. And the negative side of this degree from this lunar eclipse is insensitivity and unableness to relate to other humans or to human contact. So it's interesting that this lunar eclipse will take us on a journey of experience over the course of the next 6 months, bringing us into April, with a turning point being around February, March, actually January, February. Around that period, you're going to find that everything that you've been experiencing sort of becomes big, and then you find your way to move on past it. And you can certainly find out much more detail with with looking at your own chart or having me do that for you. And I'd be happy to help you to understand and find ways to manage this period of change in your life. It's interesting because last week we did talk about the lunar eclipse just a little bit. And it's interesting because on a full moon or a lunar eclipse, the sun is exactly opposite the moon. And that's where we get the light from, is the reflection of the sun to the moon. And the sun is actually a representation of the spirit, of the will, of the identity, where the moon is of the soul. So the sun being the spirit, the moon being the influence to the soul, which is the memories of lives lived before. It's where all our memories are stored. And you hear me often talk about the spirit, the soul, the mind and body, and I call it SSMB. That team is so important, and I'm going to keep talking about more and more of that type of information, shedding more light on that for you in the future shows on Turn to the Stars. But I know that we are getting very close to the end of today's show, so I do want to say to everyone who's watching Turn to the Stars to use this time of Mercury retrograde, which starts tomorrow at 4 o'clock, as a time for reflecting. Use this time between November 6th and November 26th as searching, researching, looking over things that have not, are not in your mind complete. It is a great time for research. So do that. Your best, it's in your best interest to align with the energy rather than fight with it. And so I want to just say thank you to every one of you for watching. Encourage you to stop by the yard if you have a chance, if that feels right to you this Saturday. We'd love to see you, all of us there. This is our 15th Psychic Holistic Fair, and the theme of it is the Age of Aquarius. I call it an Age of Aquarius event, and so we will look forward to seeing you all there. And I just want to say that I hope that all your changes that come this month of November, and the world changes, the United States changes, all are ones that happen with grace and ease. And so I want to say thank you to everyone for watching Turn to the Stars. I will see you next week. And until then, take good care. And remember, the spirit, the soul, the mind and body, they are a team. Each one of us have that special makeup. And imagine that you have your own little team, and they are there for you every single day. So take good care. I'll see you next week.